The 4th of July in 1776, the First Continental Congress gathered and the Declaration of Independence signed. The War for Independence raged on for 8 years, concluding in 1783, and by that a new nation was founded. The United States of America was founded on the principles of equality and opportunity. And 12 years after the Declaration of Independence, in 1788, the founding fathers gathered the Second Continental Congress and ratified the American Constitution. The first ratification of the Constitution is called the Right of Bills. And among the amendments signed is the Second Amendment, and it reads, "A well-regulated militia being necessary to the security of a free state and the right of the people to keep and bear arms shall not be infringed." And especially the phrase "shall not be infringed" has started a huge debate in America due to rising gun violence, robbery, murder surrounding guns, and also a changing political climate surrounding the entire amendment. But despite America's modern problems and the problems it's facing right now, it can't be ignored that the Second Amendment remains a valid safeguard of individual liberties, social security, and the balance of power between the government and its people. But why is the Second Amendment worth protecting? Well, first we have to look at historical context surrounding the amendment. First, let me discuss, and because historical disarmament have been a huge part of tyrannical dictators, and this was one of the things the founding fathers noticed with the British before the American Revolution happened. They tried to disarm the American colonists and take the firearms away before invading. And they recognized that and put a safeguard in the American law system to prevent that from happening again, both from external or internal forces. And we also have to see the culture in America, militias and civil duties. America have a long history of militias. Texas Ranger, Green Mountain Boys, with George Washington's army was all militias. Civil people, normal men, going out and fighting with their own home-owned guns. And this is nothing you can just take away from the American. You can take away their history of militias and gun ownership just because of modern problems. You have to look at the historical context and the way they're valuing their freedom and the way they're valuing their liberties. And without the American militias and American gun culture, the Western world wouldn't have taken a step into democracy. America is one of the first democracies in recent times, and without them, other nations like France, the French Revolution wouldn't happen, and the democracy wouldn't, and equality wouldn't have spread across Europe. Yes. But doesn't more restrictions equal less murder and less criminality surrounding guns? The statistics on this is actually quite interesting. Many people call for the restrictions of guns, but it doesn't actually lead to less murder. Countries like the Bahamas, Colombia, Brazil, Mexico have much higher, 4 or 5 times higher murder rates than America. And America has a 4 homicides per 100,000, including guns, compared to Mexico with 20, Brazil with 15, and Colombia with 25. So, and the thing you have to consider there is, but their gun laws. Mexico, Brazil, and other Latin American countries have much harsher gun restrictions than America. And the thing that ourworld.in.org have concluded is that it's poverty that is the reason, the common ground when surrounding firearm murders. And America actually has a higher murder count with firearms than many nations in the world, but that is because America is also suffering from from poverty and segregation. And that's a problem that the American nation will have to tackle. And you can see also that it is poverty that is the main reason for homicides with firearms. You can see here, in the wake of the pandemic, end of 2019 to 2021, there was a huge spike of 0.5 murders per 100,000. And according to World Economic Forum, the poverty in America increased rapidly during that time also, because people lost their jobs and the economy wasn't doing that great. So, to conclude everything, it's not gun laws, gun restrictions that make the murder counts. It seems pretty inefficient. It's the people, the well-being of the people, poverty, and segregation from the rest of society that leads to firearm homicides. Yes, but there still could be reasons to ban guns, or at least restrict guns in some way. But it doesn't really work that way. As discussed earlier, just removing the guns doesn't function that way. And yes, I don't think any serious gun person or advocate for guns think that mentally ill people or people who isn't acquired mentally to have a gun should own a gun. And I think that's common sense. But removing guns from honorably Americans isn't the way to go. That goes against the founding principle of the country. And also, there are statistics backing this up. Nations like Switzerland and Australia have gun laws similar to the American ones, and their homicide rate with firearms is 0.1 per 100,000. So it isn't really, once again, it isn't really the guns that kill, it's the well-being of the people. So if America wants to tackle the gun violence, they have to tackle poverty and uneducation and illiteracy and all that before anything else, because that's the main reason plaguing the country today, and why their drug dealers are shooting each other and other people surrounding. Yeah, to conclude everything up, in respect for the founding fathers and the American values, we can't just ban guns. It doesn't function that way. To stop the violence, we need to find other ways to tackle the homicide issue. We have to reduce poverty, increase education, and less segregation in society. We need to improve the well-being of the people. That's the main reason to why the mass shootings are happening today, the mental state of the population. If we figure that out, I don't think we have to even discuss Second Amendment anymore. We don't have to discuss taking away honorable Americans' firearms and the right to protect themselves against their government or other governments. And don't tread on me.